It's been an extraordinary week. Steve, you're the boss of a union that's officially affiliated, tied to the Labour Party. What do you think has to happen now?
Well, I think we need to see change. I think 18 months ago, the general public wanted to see that change, and we're not seeing it. We're just seeing a continuation of what happened before. And I think that needs to be a leadership change. And I think MPs need to be calling for that and trigger a...
So you think Keir Starmer should go?
Well, I think everybody's thinking it, and people are just not saying it at the moment. Unfortunately, we're seeing MPs being wheeled out again today to sweep up the mess behind the Prime Minister at the moment. And it seems that the Prime Minister isn't taking advice from elected people within his own government. We've seen that he didn't listen to the former Deputy Prime Minister. He hasn't listened to his current Deputy Prime Minister. He's listening to a factional group which are making bad decisions, it seems. And I want to see the change that was promised and that this country needs.
Well, Pat McFadden there, suggesting that changing the pilot, dropping the pilot halfway would be the wrong thing to do. Steve, what did you make of what you heard?
Well, I think Pat made an important point about the general public are not hearing of the good things that the Labour government have done. And that's exactly the point of why we need change, because the whole conversation is around the smears, the scandals that we're seeing this week. But as has been pointed out already, there's been other things that have distracted the focus of what the government should be doing. They should be focused on fixing this country. They should be focused on investing in the fire and rescue service like they talked about during the manifesto. We haven't seen the change that we have needed in our sector, and we're not seeing it elsewhere. Members of the public are just not seeing this change that they have talked about for so long. But the
problem is, what Pat McFadden was saying, is if you end up chopping and changing the leader, that becomes months of political distraction. People voted Keir Starmer in on an enormous majority just 18 months ago. Doesn't it look self-indulgent to be doing this? And maybe you and your colleagues should just get on with it, get your heads down.
Look, I think we're beyond that point. I was saying this 3 or 4 months ago that Keir Starmer needs to start turning things around. I think this week has just been the final bullet, actually, because what we need to see right now is them doing the job of Labour values and potentially winning the next election in 3.5 years' time. They're in that period of time now where they need to try and turn that round. And I don't think we can wait till May. I don't think we can wait for what the polls are saying those elections will deliver. We know where that will go. And I think the fear for our members and the fears for the public sector and public services is a reform government coming down the line. I want to see a Labour government that can deliver on the change they promised of Labour values, investing in the public service, investing in the fire and rescue service and elsewhere, and deliver that change. I think now's the time to do that, because in 3 years' time, it will be too late. Well, look, I think, listening to Pat then, we're expected to believe that nobody knew anything about this. Peter Mandelson was known as the Prince of Darkness. Forensic Keir, we're often told, did not do that due diligence. And Gordon Brown coming out and what he said about the systematic failings, and we need to be focusing on that. I think there is a trust and confidence issue, actually, and I think people have lost trust in the Labour Party. And I think as a Labour member, as a union that is affiliated to Labour, I'm not happy with that. We need to make sure that the general public have trust in a Labour government that will deliver for working people.
But is that fair? I mean, if, as Pat McFadden says, as the Prime Minister has said very passionately this week, that actually Peter Mandelson was economical with the truth, he didn't tell them the whole story, is it fair to use hindsight to say, actually, this is all on you?
I don't think it's hindsight. The Financial Times 2 years ago were reporting things about Peter Mandelson staying in Epstein's flat. The heinous crimes that have been talked about, any association with that, I think, is just a bridge too far, Laura.
But, Steve, you want there to be a contest. Who would you want to be at the top of that?
Well, I won't speculate on names because that's up in the air, isn't it? But I think
you can't call for a leadership contest as a prominent member of the Labour movement without having a little bit of an idea of who you would like to see.
I can, because we're a democratic union. It'd be a decision of our executive.
People would speculate the unions probably like the look of Angela Rayner, and people on the right of the party look more to Wes Streeting. I mean, there they are. They are seen in political circles as being the obvious two contenders. So out of the two of them, who would you rather see?
Well, I'm not going to get drawn into which one of those two. I'd say anyone that has any association with Peter Mandelson should be nowhere near government. I'll also say that we want
So that means, for viewers who haven't been following it, Wes Streeting is somebody who has had a friendship with Peter Mandelson over the years, and he said on the record he feels betrayed and appalled and he didn't know about any of this. But that means then, out of those two, you're saying Angela Rayner.
Well, I want to see someone lead this country to the values of Labour, of what we back them for, what we will continue to back them for, delivering for people in society that are still experiencing the cost of living crisis, that will invest in our NHS, will invest in the fire service. Look, firefighters are meeting this week to talk about the severity of the cuts in the fire and rescue service. We have lost 1 in 5 posts, 12,000 firefighters since 2010, and we lost more firefighters last year under a Labour government. That is unacceptable for a Labour-affiliated union. So we will be talking about industrial action. Our members are calling for that, and I think that is damaging. These are the issues that Pat McFadden should be on your show talking about.
Firefighter strike is the last thing that Labour government leaves like a hole in the head.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear a Conservative MP criticise what's going on with the Labour government after 14 years of Tory austerity that has decimated our communities.
But aren't you giving them a gift? I mean, by sitting here and saying, yeah, you should get rid of the leader, aren't you actually giving all your critics an absolute gift tied up with a bow to say, look, they're not up to it, they're all fighting?
I don't think so. I think the people that the Prime Minister and the government should be listening to are people that represent workers in our communities. And our Executive Council met this week, and what they tell me is when they're on fire stations, in our fire control rooms, is that they are finding it increasingly difficult to defend the decisions of this government. And what we're seeing is the support and advice that is being given to Keir Starmer. He's making bad decisions, I think. And I want to see the Labour government over the next 3 years deliver the change that they promised, invest in our public services, start delivering for ordinary people, not the rich and powerful in society is what we're seeing at the moment, and do that. And we want to get behind them in 3 years' time to look back and say, actually, this Labour government has delivered. I don't think we should wait for the May elections. You see the polls, Laura, you've reported on that. Yeah. It is going to be devastating for the Labour Party.
And the Gorton by-election coming in a couple of weeks could be very difficult indeed. What do you think is going to happen there, Steve?
Well, I think it's an uphill battle, actually. And I think we can wait till then and see what happens. We can wait to the May elections. But what we need to be seeing is a government that is governing in the favour of working people, ordinary people in this country. We've seen a year-long strike with the Birmingham bin workers, with a Labour-led council. That's not acceptable. And I call again that I think the MPs need to be triggering a vote, a process for a new leader.
Well, we will see